Australian infantrymen, volunteers for service with United Nations forces in Korea, paraded Ingleburn Camp after undergoing intensive training here. They're hand-picked, tough, with a rugged, aggressive spirit, and most have already seen war service. Russian newspapers say Australians won't enlist for Korea. If Uncle Joe would only look at these pictures, he might change his mind. These men will help reconstitute the ANZACs, for troops from New Zealand will be joining them. They're as tough and as well equipped as the world's best. First draft leaves Kingsford Smith Airport, Sydney at night after their Japan-bound Skymaster's been thoroughly checked. Among those is Sergeant J.R. Graham. He's been engaged to Velda Watson for 12 months. Now they must wait. Minister for the Army Francis is at the airport with Lieutenant General Berryman. He tells the troops they will be warmly welcomed by General MacArthur and that no effort or cost will be spared to ensure they go into action with the best and latest equipment. That is a job for all Australians. They cannot be let down, nor those who will follow them. Few relatives see this secret night departure announced only after the men arrived safely in Japan. For the United Nations task is not easy, and no sabotage must hamper it. Stressing the vital effect in America of Australia's prompt assistance in Korea, the Prime Minister, Mr. Menzies, says,
"It's no mere form of words to say that Australia has the affectionate regard of the United States to a remarkable extent. The very, very difficult financial matters that I had to discuss in Washington would have been much more difficult, if it hadn't been for this instant feeling that one experienced about Australia. Partly because of the experiences of the last two wars, but also at this time, partly, at least, because of the prompt association of Australia with the United States in respect of Korea, where the Americans really feel that we are among their few active allies."
The first Skymaster with Australian volunteers arrives in Japan. Troops in this and other planes will reinforce men of the BCOF who are already in advanced training for service in Korea. Wing Commander Spence of 77 Squadron and Australian Occupation Force officers watch the plane taxi in after a perfect landing. Australia's Air Force and Navy have already been in action with United Nations forces, and our infantrymen with a reputation for courage won in 2 world wars answer the call to halt aggression. That gentleman is not shooting for Sunisan. Foot sloggers, the men who win wars. Korea has proved that overwhelming air power and abundant sea power are not in themselves enough. With a proud record behind them, they march once again, joining their comrades of the Japan Occupation Force to fight in the British Commonwealth Brigade. A worthy combination in a great struggle that must be won. Aussies leave their barracks at Hero, Japan on the way to the battlefront in Korea. This is the job they volunteered for, and they're angry and disappointed they've not been sent into action earlier. Now, with North Korean defenses crumbling, they feel they're too late, but they might still see plenty of action. Through rain-soaked streets, they're driven to Kure, the United Nations main naval base in Japan, to embark in the United States troop transport Aiken Victory. In misty rain and the fading light of a late Japanese afternoon, the diggers begin the last stage of their journey. Tough, well-disciplined troops, anxious to have a go. They were our enemies 5 years ago, and now they're helping us fight someone else. Commander of the British Commonwealth Occupation Force, Lieutenant General Robertson, goes aboard to wish the diggers good luck. Japanese girls beneath traditional umbrellas watch the embarkation of troops going to fight a war almost on Japan's doorstep. Dawn next day, the coast of Nippon far behind, troops relax on deck. Bluey Jones and his bandy-wallop bombardiers. No wonder the boys want to get into action. Who knows, a sniper might puncture that squeeze box. But maybe it's a secret weapon designed to strike terror into the North Koreans. Those who don't love classical music play cards, and those who don't play cards play chuck-a-luck. It's a sort of crown and anchor, and the boys bet like big graziers trying to get rid of a wool check. Of course, the national game is not neglected. 50 yen he heads them. Up they go, down they come. Good on ya, Baldy. A British destroyer guards Aiken Victory from attack as the coast of Korea comes into sight. This is the port where the Aussies will disembark, a vital United Nations base flanked by high, rugged mountains. South Koreans show their appreciation of the diggers' arrival, singing their own version of Waltzing Matilda, accompanied by a Korean Marine band. But if you don't mind, we'll spare you that. Everyone, including the girls, have tiny flags made hurriedly when they knew the Australians were coming. First men ashore are presented with bouquets by the Women's Welcoming Committee. Now, if they'd only made it a dozen beer apiece. The Australians' commanding officer, youthful Lieutenant Colonel Green, gets his posy too. There's none for Major Ferguson, but he's the adjutant. They never get bouquets. Thousands of miles from their homeland, the diggers come ashore. The Aussies sang Waltzing Matilda through 2 wars. They'll sing it again as they march through Korea and anywhere else they go to punch home the lesson that aggression does not pay.
Waltzing Matilda with me, waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. And he sang as he called that jump back in his sucker bag.